that's there. So,
But I will say, though, I am frustrated because, as usual, Thanksgiving football, it's it's kind of garbage. No team this year, Connor, has a winning record playing for Thanksgiving. And this is a regular NFL Sunday. Unless these were one of my personal teams, I wouldn't be locked in. So why do we have to suffer through this year after year? Why does
you
this
know,
happen to us?
before I share my take, I'll share. I'm gonna, and I'll give credit where it's due. I'll share a little Rich Eisen take. Uh, Watched some of his show yesterday via Peacock, and he was talking about that very same thing. And Rich Eisen was saying, we're gonna watch it regardless. That's how cocky the NFL is. The NFL knows that we're going to be watching Thanksgiving Day games, and we'll watch bad teams play football, and that's going to be a thing. But no, I agree. Thanksgiving Day football has been a snoozer for a while. You would wish that there's one team that's at least good. I think we're going to have one game with some playoff implications out of the two we're getting today. But we're at Ford Field, so Rutledge. Talk to me about the Lions, man. I mean, why?
Oof.
What's going on there? I mean, why should I watch that? Why shouldn't I watch the dog show?
So, well, why shouldn't you watch the dog show? I've always been bothered by how everyone's wearing the most intense orthopedic shoes at the dog show all the time. It's kind of intense. But Lions football, so I did some research and watched it and pulled some stuff since since 2006, because that's when really the wheels started to fall off the bus up in Detroit. In Thanksgiving time, Detroit has gone 4-10 on Thanksgiving Day, and their wins, that includes their winless season that they had, and most of their wins that they've had have been their losses have been absolute blowouts. So it's not even like the game is on and you're half interested. It's just a shuck of a game that sort of we suffer through. So Lions football has been up and down in this weird dynamic. I also find it strange. I know that it's tradition to have the Lions on at noon, but when you come to NFL franchises, it's not a huge, massive franchise that you kind of stare at. I know as a kid, I knew who the Detroit Lions were just because they were on Thanksgiving. But it's not the massive big team like a Packers or a Bears that you sort of follow. So Lions are really sort of struggling. I also want to kind of share that the Cowboys do a little bit better over the past 14 years. They're 8-6, but Cowboys, while everyone knows them as America's team, they haven't really done anything for America since maybe their last kind of run in the 90s and a few playoff spots here. So I think these are two teams that, while in the NFL and play games, it's been more about the storylines of who they're playing than what they're personally doing on the field. Connor, what is your take sort of on these two teams and their sort of dynamic?
Yeah, it's. I do have family up in Michigan, so definitely they will be following the Lions, and they do follow the Lions and things like that. But for the most part, it's just the NFL does. It is able to capitalize on the fact that, well, what do we do at noon on Thursday? Guess we watch the Lions. This is. I remember as a kid watching ESPN highlights of those fans with the bags on their heads, with the turkeys in their laps, watching, seeing the Lions, not be good. Even during the Barry Sanders days, they weren't all that good. This has not been. Oh my goodness, I should have sacked you there. You force pushed me around you. That was neat. For those listening on podcast while Rutledge and I are playing Madden, I just made a gigantic boo-boo. Cowboys, yeah, I think that I wish that the Cowboys were better. I think the Cowboys are kind of like the Knicks of the NFL, where when the Cowboys are good, I mean, the NFL is better when the Cowboys are good,
Yep.
It was hopeful with Zeke and Dak Prescott, and then you added Amari Cooper, kind of more of a team like what we're seeing now, good offensive line. But man, they just, for one reason or another, they haven't seemed to put it together. And I think a lot of it right now Mike McCarthy is going to be. I think that Jerry Jones will be too proud to fire Mike McCarthy early, but he's not doing that franchise many favors at all. So those are some of my thoughts.
No, it is not. I I think that while even Dallas is a relevant franchise, I think getting them off at Thanksgiving would be good for them because while there is, some playoff applications this year and they are kind of good, the Cowboys haven't been a good team in a long time. I'm a big believer as someone that Tony Romo was an overrated quarterback, and he was a quarterback kind of almost like a Zeke is taking off again. He was almost like a quarterback that you said, who else do I go out and get? Kind of like our take to Matt Ryan. He wasn't a quarterback of someone that was going to lead you to the promised land. But Connor, I have this idea that hit me as I got my 4 hours of sleep last night. I really think that the NFL, someone who does a really good day of holidays is the NBA. And I pulled last year's Christmas schedule, and this was NBA Christmas Day schedule when they delivered it. And these games are not in order of what time they started, but this is sort of the whole lineup the NBA had on Christmas Day this past year. There was Celtics Raptors, Clippers Lakers, Rockets Golden States, Milwaukee 76ers, and Pelicans Nuggets. And as we saw, that would have been a really good game because the Nuggets went deep in the playoffs this year.
And Zion.
Yeah, and Zion. You have a young Nuggets roster versus Zion Williams and a trying to make something Pelicans roster. So, why is it that the NBA can't copy? Why can't the NFL be more like the NBA?
You're right, Rutledge, and I totally wish that was the case. That's actually my take for MLS. That more folks need to be calling dibs on more holidays, and I think that's we know the schedule's pretty early on, and we did some research and went through to see all of this different schedule pieces, and it's definitely there's a lot that goes into it. Oh, pick.
Beautiful pick.
Wow. But the big thing is, you play, if you end up first in the division, you play other first place teams. Like, we know that at the end of the current season, we know what at least some of your schedule is going to be next year. And as things progress, we know when New England is going to finish first but lose Tom Brady, and not be the New England that we saw the previous year. So, I know that there's computer simulations and things like that, but Roger Goodell can't pick up the phone and say, hey, I want this team versus that team on Thanksgiving Day. I don't get it. Now, we do need to pour a little out our coffee this morning for the Ravens-Steelers game, but yeah, and I think that was the NFL's attempt at putting a marquee game on Thanksgiving night, but man, this is the fact that the NFL is cocky enough to just assume we're going to watch and give big ratings is pretty lame.
Did you read the tweet that Pat McAfee put out yesterday that I sent you while I was working out?
Yes.
Pat McAfee said yesterday on Twitter, he said, not to be dramatic or anything, but people needed Ravens-Steelers to happen this year on Thanksgiving Day. And
America needed it to happen.
America needed it to happen. I was looking at the schedule, and you're right, there could have been a big marquee game. And when you looked at the schedule, some games that are this week that I think would have made a pretty sweet Thanksgiving based on everything you just said is you had Ravens-Steelers, obviously, which was postponed. The Cardinals are playing the Patriots, so no Tom Brady, but watching two different sort of rushing primary quarterbacks, seeing who can run the pass better. And then the Chiefs play the Bucks. So old school versus new school, Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. Think about if that was your slot lineup. Chief Bucks at noon, Cards Pats at 4:15, and then closing out the day with Steelers. So one can only hope.
But, I think part of it, too, that we do need to take into consideration, you and I talk about, I think there is a little bit of, hey, these guys are professionals and you gotta flex, you can flex into a game. I think that it's one thing to flex from a 1 o'clock Sunday game to, the night game and vice versa. You got a Sunday game, right? You're off Monday. You have 1 day of practice on Tuesday. then you're walking through. You're probably not even putting pads on that week. Um, that would be the only thing that might drop a little bit of the quality if you're trying to flex a you know a Sunday game back to a Thursday game. But look, these guys. I think that these guys are professionals, and I think that it's part of it. That I think that should be part of what we're trying to work through here.
Absolutely, and I think it comes into when we pulled the NFL scheduling rules when we were putting together our show, and there's one line in here that I want to read from it. So they say you get 6 divisional games, 4 games against teams from a division within your conference, 4 games against a team with a division from the other conference, but this one is 2 games against 2 teams from 2 main division in its own conference, 1 at home and 1 on the road. Matchups are based on division rankings from the previous season. So kind of like you said, top finishing division should play top finishing division. In the NFL's rule, that's just a very blatant, hey, we could schedule whatever we wanted on Thanksgiving Day. But we don't, because like Rich Eisen said, we're going to watch Lions at noon.
That's just going to be a thing.
It's just going to be a thing.
And what's also going to be a thing is Connor fixing his kicking woes.
There you go.
Hitting on 2 first-half field goals to close it out. Yeah.
Oh man! In great Thanksgiving Day fashion, the score going into our halftime hot takes is Connor winning 6-0